Well, for more on that visit to Moscow by the French president, I'm joined in studio by our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbert.
Morning.
Doug, there's scepticism in some quarters about Macron's trip today. Is it a risky move for him?
Well, put it this way, a risky move, sure, but it's something that he loves doing. Macron loves to be casts himself as the role of the middleman in global diplomacy, a global peacemaker, if you will. He thrives on and relishes the opportunity to take on difficult adversaries, and he's always been a proponent of dialogue. That is, more dialogue, more talking to those you sharply disagree with is better than not doing so at all or just ignoring them or giving them the silent treatment. You remember famously during the Trump years, Macron met time and again with Donald Trump, a lot of these little backslapping, buddy-buddy types of meetings. And he came under a lot of criticism in some quarters for coddling autocratic leaders, giving them greater ammunition on the world stage. And Macron always defended himself in saying, the alternative, I have no choice. I'm the president of France. My obligation, my duty is to reach out to partners, especially partners that are in the overall sense as important as, say, the U.S. and in this case, Russia. So Trump and Vladimir Putin have been two of the adversarial characters that Macron has not just relished but thrived on doing business with. Look, the New York Times reported today that Putin himself has called Macron a, quote, quality interlocutor. And the paper was citing a senior official in the French presidency. And what's interesting is at a time when you have the U.S. administration and Joe Biden in from many perspectives, an alarmist mode, sending the troops to NATO allies in Eastern Europe, up to 3,000 of them, ramping up the talk of war could be imminent and there could be mass casualties in Ukraine. This, from Russia's perspective, it smacks of scaremongering, outrageous, mad statements. It's not a sober voice from Russia's perspective. So in a weird way, even though Russia has said in the past that on the Ukraine crisis, the U.S. is really the only interlocutor that matters, in the current context where, say, Boris Johnson is considered a joke by Putin, totally discredited. Joe Biden is in alarmist mode, having to appease the anti-Russia hawks at home, especially in the Republican Party. Macron comes out looking like a sober, steady voice, someone, as I just quoted, that quality interlocutor, someone that Putin, even if he sharply disagrees with Macron, and even if he's not going to concede that much, if anything, at least he sees him as someone, an adult in the room on the European stage that he can sit down and talk to. And to extend that, perhaps Olaf Scholz as well, the German chancellor. But Macron really, in the here and now, is someone that Putin has dealt with many, many times in the past. They met in 2019. They met in 2018. They know they can speak to each other. They know that they have a respect for each other, even if they also know they have very sharp divergences.
And Doug, we've had a lot of reaction over the past few weeks coming from Western nations and Western leaders. What is Putin's state of mind likely to be? Yeah, well, Putin's state of mind right now is he's not going to give an inch. And he's shown that. His red line is his security grievances. Basically, the world is doing what Putin has wanted to do. All the attention is now turned to Russia. We're all talking about Putin. We're all talking about his meetings with Putin. I think an important thing is to look beyond just the Macron meeting today, but look at Olaf Scholz's role, because Putin's also looking at Germany. Germany has also been a go-to partner in Europe, especially under Angela Merkel. And as Macron is heading right now to Moscow, you have Olaf Scholz heading in the opposite direction today to Washington for his first meeting with Joe Biden. And it's going to be important because Germany has been seen, has not sent weapons, will not send lethal weapons to Ukraine. It has been its own red line. It sent helmets and things like that. And it says it's very much on board with tough sanctions in the event of further Russian aggression. But it draws the line at sending weapons. And what Olaf Scholz is trying to do is go to reassure both Joe Biden and Americans in general, where the anti-Russia rhetoric is at full volume right now, that Germany is a reliable partner, not an unreliable partner, and that it's not the weak link in the relationship between the U.S. and Europe and Russia. So two key meetings to keep an eye on today. Yeah. Doug Herbert, our international affairs commentator, thanks so much for joining us.